Hey guys, this is Matt for Creative. I literally just got back from seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and as you know, I don't have a script. It took me 20 minutes to get home, and through that I was just processing this, but I just want to start off by saying this is the Marvel movie that we wish they had made since Endgame, and that was 2019, so that's like 3-4 years ago. That's an insane amount of time, and having something like this type of movie, the way that it was written, the way that it was edited, the way that this was a full movie on its own and as part of this Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, it just makes everything else, literally everything else that Marvel has made since Endgame, just feel pieced together, imperfect, and kind of trying to fit like the overall bigger narrative that this interconnected universe is. I mean, that's what it's based upon. That's why we like it. But it's really fallen short, and it's really been pushing an overarching narrative rather than individual stories that suit a particular just character or group of characters. This movie delivered. There is no way to say this in any other way. This movie delivered, and I went in here saying, this is my final movie where I'm going to have extremely high expectations. I had high expectations for Thor: Love and Thunder, was very much let down. I had high expectations for Ant-Man as a fun kind of romp, and it was not a bad movie, but again, it felt like it was trying to fill in what Phase 5 was supposed to be. And in the past, I don't know, I've really gone into Marvel movies, seeing how they can push the overall narrative. I'm always hoping and just waiting for, oh wow, this character is crossing over with this other franchise, and this is meaningful because of something. Not just to have them there, but this is meaningful because. And one of the key things I think that they've been doing wrong, even though it's a fun way, is the Wong character from Doctor Strange, where he just pops up in other movies. He doesn't need to be there. He does, and the actor who plays him is great at the part. And whenever he's on screen, it's fun, but it doesn't serve anything. And kind of having that as like the baseline of that's connecting things along with other, the reaction to the snap, and now going into Phase 5 with Kang, it was just like too much. It's like every single story was kneecapped. Thor: Love and Thunder had really just, it was a shell of a movie that it could have been. And I was talking with people in the theater, and we were saying, how could you do something so terrible with Christian Bale, where it could have literally been me, and it wouldn't have mattered who was playing that part. It was just gross. But I wanted to get those negatives out of the way before I glow about this movie. And each and every character, main character, they had their character developed. They're not just a one-hit joke, bastardization of the idea of a character. They were real. And I think the heart and soul of this movie is James Gunn. And I have to say that Marvel, letting him go, biggest mistake ever. Through this, I really can't wait to see what DC is going to do. I can't wait for the Flash movie. I heard it's really good, but I can't wait to see James Gunn's fingerprints all over an entirely new universe with no baggage or less baggage. That's going to be an insane thing, because the way that he connects storylines together from his previous movies, the way he connects or actually the way that he has characters interact with one another, it's fun. It's fun and it's meaningful. It's not just quips. It's not just poking fun at one another, which, of course, with the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's kind of what it is. It's friends being friends, poking fun at one another. But the storytelling, and oh my God, a lot of people have been saying that Rocket Raccoon is the secret protagonist in this movie, and it's kind of not so secret. We'll talk later on with the spoilers and everything on how this goes, but the heart that James Gunn must have to tell a story like this, a heartbreaking story, it's masterful. It's masterful because it's going for all the expectations that people like me have had. It has to make money. It has to work in the overall narrative, even though this particular movie, no spoilers yet, is separate. It really feels like its own movie, and that's how it should be. It feels separate from the rest of the universe. It has its own Guardians of the Galaxy universe, which is amazing. But man, this movie, it begins on, and no spoilers yet, it pulls at the heartstrings at the very, very get-go. You feel that this is a different type of movie than Ant-Man, than Doctor Strange, than Thor. It's like, you can tell immediately from the get-go, this movie is something different. And I was kind of thinking, like, are they doing this to kind of trick me into being like, oh, this movie has heart because this kind of music and this kind of, what is it, filmmaking or visuals are just trying to make me feel something that's not there, but it was getting me ready for the rest of the movie, where it would be a roller coaster of emotions, just up and down, and feeling what these characters feel. Nothing felt wasted. No character felt wasted. No time felt wasted. I thought that this was just a masterclass of what a movie should be. I really think this is the best movie of 2023. If you are not a Marvel fan, then I think this still works. If you've seen the other Guardians of the Galaxy, if you've seen those movies, and of course I think Infinity War, you'll kind of know, like, you'll be better prepped to be ready for the story. But if this is the first movie that you've ever seen, you can go into this, and you can learn. Because I'm trying to think, if I was just brand new, would I learn exactly what I need to in this movie? And yes, you learn Gamora's past, just kind of like by telling you about it, because they can't show you, but they do tell you in a way that kind of works and doesn't feel like it's just like somebody talking at you. They are talking with other people and just kind of getting you into what the story is with that particular character. Same with Rocket, same with Peter. It's just, man, they do a great job. I again, see this movie, get ready to shed a few tears, and I don't know what else to say before I begin these spoilers. It's fun, it's emotional, it's exactly what a movie should be, what a Marvel movie should be, and yeah, again, James Gunn, masterclass at just doing this with what he has. Okay, let's go into this with spoilers. Yeah, this movie, after that heartfelt kind of visual and music montage of just working you through the characters, you immediately get hit with story and plot progression, where Adam Warlock, the Sovereign from the previous movie, Volume 2, is still on the warpath to destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy. And it immediately starts with Rocket almost dying. Basically, everybody is having their ass kicked. And it's just like, it's heartbreaking, because you feel this is a movie where anything could happen. Any character could die. Anything could really happen, because they keep on promoting this as the final outing for the Guardians of the Galaxy. And people say this is the last time you'll see the Guardians of the Galaxy this way. And people would just know that it's kind of like after James Gunn leaves, maybe some of these actors will just be moving on too because they were there for him and not the overarching like Marvel narrative because contracts are over and all that. But I just have to take a pause because again, I just saw this movie and I just have to collect my thoughts. I have to get everything together and I just have to like be ready to tell like the story of this just because it's so good. But yeah, Adam Warlock basically almost kills Rocket. They damage Adam enough where he goes away and they are now on the path of like, we need to fix him. And they try to put like, you know, a futuristic medical pack on him. And that doesn't work because there is a fail-safe code in his DNA or in him that's restricting anybody from tinkering around or else he dies. Just, it'll kill him. So they have to look for basically the character that you may know, the High Evolutionary. They are on an adventure or a quest to save their friend. And throughout this, you know, Rocket is basically, he's out of commission. He's unconscious. And in many other movies, you may think, okay, this character is just being sidelined. He is not part of this story, but he is included in the story, and they do a really good job of flashbacks. And these are heartbreaking flashbacks of how Rocket was created and how he had friends who were also worked on by this High Evolutionary who was basically trying to make a perfect race, a perfect world full of creatures, and he was working on this. And if this didn't work, eradicate it and go on to the next one. If this one doesn't work, eradicate it, go on to the next one. And as much as, man, it's just heartbreaking because in this movie there is so much death. And you can see it because Rocket sees it through the friends that he makes along the way while he's being worked on. And unfortunately, before he gets to escape, because we know that he escapes, I was thinking in the trailers, you see, there was a scene where I thought, okay, he's going to be reunited with these friends of his, but unfortunately they all don't make it before he is able to escape. And that's a huge thing for him, just to kind of have this, like, he sees them die in front of him. He sees that there are other creatures being worked on. And eventually they do get this kind of workaround where they're able to work on him. And as he's coming back to life, he is seeing his friends in the afterlife. And I'm not sure if you know, this may be important because in some stories you may think, okay, this is all in their head. This is a nice closure moment where they get to speak to their friends one last time. But Marvel has been really pushing up afterlife being when you die and your physical form goes away, you are not dead. There is more after life, where they did it, of course, I think with Wakanda and with Moon Knight. They did a really, and there's different afterlives for different kinds of, I guess, religions or just people. It just kind of works differently. And so with that knowledge, I was like, it's not just in his head. And maybe if it still was in his head, it would have mattered. But this means that it truly matters. That they are, at least they acted like that they were happy in the afterlife, that they were together in the afterlife, but it was not Rocket's time to join them yet. So he's pulled back into the present, the now, to kind of, basically they're going to beat the High Evolutionary. That's what they need to do. Rocket, has his line, we're done running here. And he's going back in. And what they find on this High Evolutionary is that he, like you've seen this in the trailer, that world of like kind of humanoid creatures, unfortunately, they are eradicated because he's ready to move on to another world with more perfect beings. And all these beings, it's a ship full of children and full of what we would call just animals, just creatures, raccoons, kangaroos, just other things in there. So the Guardians of the Galaxy, they find the children, and they're like, we have to get these higher they keep on saying we have to get these higher life forms out of here. And that's part of like what the last act of the movie is, just getting these higher life forms out. And then Rocket, he's kind of on his own at this point in the movie, and he sees there are cages of other raccoons like him, other animals like him, and I guess he radios back to the other people as we have to get these animals out too. And that really hits home just because I am all for the rights of animals, I think the punishment of animals and we are better than them because we can think higher than them. It's disgusting to think like that. And this movie, not that it's pushing a narrative, it just, because you have seen what Rocket has gone through and what he originated as and what his friends originated as, you immediately go into like, these animals are not just animals, these are life forms, they're creatures, they're not higher life forms. Maybe they are life forms, no higher or less than us, but they need to be saved too. So they save the kids, they save the animals, and they just rip apart the High Evolutionary. It is brutal. The movie itself is brutal, and it pushes the boundaries of things. And I will talk about one thing which I think is a big Marvel push. It's kind of funny that they did it, but it's a big Marvel push. But yeah, the way that they show the death, or not the death, because I don't think he doesn't die. He's still alive. They let him live, but the way they show the destruction of his body is just insane for somebody who's still alive. Before we continue on, this is the first time in a Marvel mainline MCU movie that they use the F word, and they use it in a funny way, just randomly. And I think this is prepping us for the more hard rated R movies, like Deadpool is coming, and we'll see what else comes like next time down the line, because that's going to be an R-rated movie. It's going to have the F word. It's going to have a lot of cursing in it. And this is such a casual, just like F. It's the scene where they're trying to get into like an old 80s car, and they're like what is it? Not Gamora. Nebula is having trouble getting into it, and he's just like, just open the effing door. And literally, I was thinking, because they had that same scene in a trailer, and I was like, they're going to cop out and make it freaking. And because there is an Instagram ad for this where they bleeped out that word, because they just had that little section. It was not like a full-fledged ad. It was just like kind of like those Instagram clips. And I was like, oh, they bleeped it. That's kind of interesting. Why did they do that? But yeah, hard F in that movie. I thought that was just, it's another step towards the rest. That may be the biggest world building that they did with this movie, and to that credit, that's all they needed to, because we know what's coming from Marvel, but this felt like a breath of fresh air. All right, so we've reached almost the end of the movie. There is a moment where you think Peter's not going to make it. He's freezing up, his face is bulging, you think he's dead. And he does get saved by a redeemed Adam Warlock, who has been given a second chance throughout trying to kill them, still trying to kill them, being injured, and then being picked up by Groot and just being saved. Adam Warlock saves Peter, just trying to be a better person. And at the end, no good main characters die. Everybody who begins the movie ends the movie, who is in the present day, let's say that. And I think that that's a breath of fresh air. It's just like, I had the full expectation that there were going to be deaths, multiple deaths, and they do kind of tease that in the trailers, where Peter's being picked up by Nebula. that happens to be because he's been drinking. This feels like more of a real movie than a lot of the other Marvel movies. It begins with Peter just like drinking himself stupid and being an asshole and just yelling at people and demeaning people just because he's sad about losing his one true love. And then throughout this entire movie, you think, okay, they're going to have some gimmicky thing where him and Gamora is going to get back together. But they do address that she's not the same Gamora, and it's just their friendship progresses over time, where it goes from the beginning where she doesn't even remember who he is, doesn't acknowledge him as a person. It goes through them actually having this adventure and this quest together, seeing how he loves his friends and is willing to sacrifice for his friends, and it ends where they feel like they're equals. She acknowledges the fact that, yeah, maybe they would have been good together, but, you know, at least at this point, they are living different lives. And they're both progressing. They're both being better people separately. They can be together as friends, and who knows what the future is going to hold, but this is going to be one of those things where it's like, this was masterfully done. They didn't need to kiss at the end and, you know, be together. I think that would be kind of cheap, but they did this, yeah, James Gunn, the writers of the film, everybody did a masterful job at this. All these characters survive, but they do go their own separate ways. Mantis wants to rediscover and be herself, which she entirely deserves after being a slave for many years, and then after being part of a group, she just wants to be on her own. Drax and Nebula are taking care of Nowhere and the new children and animals that are there, along with the people who have been there before. Kraglin and Cosmo, good back and forth through them. They are also on Nowhere. They are part of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll talk about the new Guardians of the Galaxy as it goes on. Let's see, Drax stays on Nowhere. Rocket is the new head of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. He's always going to have his family. He's very upset that people are going their own separate ways, but I'm really glad that no one died in this movie, just because that means he didn't lose anybody else. And this means that they can, maybe whether in a movie or something else, they can have adventures again in the future. And I really like the fact that nobody died. That was the right choice in all of this. What else? Oh, Peter goes back to Earth. He hasn't been to Earth really in forever. So he goes back to Earth to see his grandfather, because he thought he was just leaving everything because his mother passed away, and his grandfather, he thinks his grandfather pushed him away, but as he goes back home, you can see his grandfather never forgot about him, never forgot about his mother, and it was just a very emotional reunion, because there's this grandfather who's now in his 90s finally getting his grandson back. And for the time being, that's where Peter's going to be. One of the last scenes in the movie is the new Guardians of the Galaxy, which consist of Rocket, Groot, who is a gigantic, almost stone creature now. One of the kids that they saved. Wait, I feel like I'm missing Kraglin, of course, Cosmo. Am I missing anybody? Like and Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is part of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. And for what this is for Marvel, I think this is probably good for them, just because this is like not part of the story, but this is probably why this is the new Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket, CGI creature. Groot, CGI creature. Adam Warlock, brand new actor that they can bring inside. Kraglin, not a big actor, but somebody that they can put within this story. Great actor, and maybe deserves more screen time, but it's kind of a new, fresher face. And this girl, just a new character, a new young character. We'll see what they do with that character. But then it had 2 post-credit scenes. One was the formation of the new Guardians of the Galaxy, and another one was just Peter and his grandfather just at home, and just that's what they're doing. And at the very, very end, instead of saying Guardians of the Galaxy will return, it says that Peter Quill will return. And yeah, that's it. It is an emotional movie. It's something that I'm really glad that I was able to see on day 1 with other huge Marvel fans. I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse, literally the best theater in all of Manhattan. I recommend you go there. But it felt so good. The movie, I would see it again. I haven't wanted to see a movie again since maybe, was it Endgame? Maybe there's something more recent than that, but that's kind of it, and it feels good. It feels like a good movie. Now, even knowing what happens at the end, it's gonna feel good watching it. But don't go in there without just, this is a heartbreaking story. There's mutilation. There is just the idea of what is humanity, what has a soul, what people do to advance something, and they can destroy it. And is that maybe a poke at Marvel to not forget the humanity in literally every creature? You have to remember the humanity in every creature. So don't lose that in every picture that you do. Maybe it's something to relate with that, but great movie. I'm going to see it again. See it. This is the movie that my expectations were met. And it's in its own thing, so it doesn't need to feed into the big overall narrative. And all those other disappointments from Marvel fade aside, and I can enjoy this one movie right now. Alright guys, if you have any comments or questions, put it in the comments section below. Don't forget I'm on Instagram at m8b9. You can email me at matt8b9@gmail.com. You may have seen me kind of like almost break here a few times, and that's just because of the way that I think about this. I think about friends who are not here with me anymore, who are on the other side of the world, people I can't see right now. But it really hit home for me, this movie, and I don't know if if it's gonna feel the same way for everybody, but this one really had an impact on me. And the more that I think about it, I'm trying to think about things in a positive light, and yeah, it really hit for me. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you next time.